Hello fun people, I'm Isaac Carlson, and today we're going to understand the tragic tale of Tai Lung by looking at where he came from, why he turned away from his father, and how his desire for vengeance inevitably failed him. And of course, if you're new here and you'd like to join this community of Kung Fu warriors, then consider subscribing, and if you appreciate what I create, consider supporting me over on Patreon. Beyond watching my videos, it's probably the best way to support me and allows you to be part of creating the magic. Long ago, Tai Lung was born to a family of snow leopards likely outside of the Valley of Peace. Beyond his mother and father, years later, a sibling of Tai Lung had a son named Peng, who would go in search of his uncle, revealing Tai Lung's family was connected, was aware of his existence, and did have some kind of desire to find him. Peng grew up in a nearby land to the Valley of Peace, so it's possible Tai Lung originated from that same place, but it's really unknown where he was born, who his family was, or what happened to them because Tai Lung never knew any of them. Somehow, Tai Lung was left wrapped in cloth outside of the Jade Palace, the home of Master Oogway and Kung Fu, without any of his family nearby, and was discovered by Shifu. In response to finding the child, Shifu embraced him as his own, likely because Shifu understood the hardships that came from being alone in the world. You see, many years before the discovery of this baby snow leopard, Shifu had been abandoned by his father at this same place. He knew what it felt like to be without any guidance, so he decided to be the guardian of Tai Lung, similarly to what Oogway had done for him. Shifu just wanted to do what was right by the boy by believing in him, which is why he gave him a name meaning Great Dragon. Regardless of who created Tai Lung or where he came from, he was raised, watched over, and loved by Shifu. Master Shifu became Tai Lung's father, and later on, his master. After showing promise in the art of Kung Fu and discovering he was a true prodigy, Shifu decided to train Tai Lung, believing he had the potential to become one of the most capable warriors that the world had ever known. Over time, Shifu even became convinced that Tai Lung would one day be chosen as the Dragon Warrior, the legendary individual foretold by Master Oogway, who would rise to the highest levels of Kung Fu and obtain limitless power through the knowledge within the Dragon Scroll. Through every lesson, Shifu slowly molded Tai Lung into someone who craved excellence, knowledge, and power in hopes of motivating him to seize a destiny he would be unable to reach. To unlock all of his potential, Shifu gave him unrelenting love and praise, which kept Tai Lung hoping to continue to push through all of his breaking points to please Shifu. The interesting truth that lives in Tai Lung's story is that he didn't want riches or to take over China or to dethrone Oogway. Tai Lung was constantly fighting to make his father proud. Of course, Shifu was proud of Tai Lung though, but that didn't stop the boy from literally pushing his bones to break in the pursuit of perfecting the art form he was studying. The intensity of the training didn't burn Tai Lung out, but really only led him to strive to accomplish more. To be the strongest, fastest, and most furious fighter that Tai Lung could become, he leveraged all of the master's knowledge and training resources he could, inevitably bringing him to be the first person to master all 1,000 scrolls of Kung Fu. Tai Lung became committed to becoming the greatest warrior in the world, and for the most part, he accomplished that. He unlocked all of the martial and spiritual secrets understood by Master Oogway, all of the wisdom of generations of martial artists, including unique styles, weapons, techniques, and tactics had been mastered by Tai Lung. With Shifu's guidance, Tai Lung had truly risen to a place in Kung Fu that put him above his father and only below the creator of Kung Fu himself. Other than Master Oogway, there was no mortal who would be able to defeat him. Of course, Kai would be able to defeat this master in the spirit realm, but that wouldn't happen until Tai Lung was sent there by the true Dragon Warrior. And this is an idea that I've discussed in the past. The reality that Tai Lung's chi was eventually stolen by Kai is an episode I'll leave linked down below. We know a little bit about Tai Lung's fate as a spirit warrior, but until he got to that point, he spent his life in the mortal world constantly training. Tai Lung was drilled his entire life by Shifu that he was going to rise to be something beyond himself. So he had those expectations placed upon him. What Shifu failed to see was that by pushing Tai Lung to become completely invested in the pursuit of rising to be the Dragon Warrior, Tai Lung failed to create self-worth and an identity for himself beyond that. Tai Lung was consumed by pride. That's why even after going through all of that intense, rigorous, and brutal training and rising to new heights in the Kung Fu world, nothing was enough for him. Unfortunately, this longing for more knowledge and the ability to set free all of his potential would become his dark obsession, and Shifu loved his son too much to see that rising. Master Oogway, on the other hand, saw that corrupted heart within Tai Lung, so when Shifu presented his child to Oogway, he rejected Tai Lung's inquiry of becoming the Dragon Warrior, much to the master and student's dismay. For Tai Lung's entire life, he had been told he was destined to be the Dragon Warrior, but when his opportunity to be chosen finally came, his master rejected him, and his father did nothing to stop it, leading him to feel truly betrayed. With a deep sense of failure, confusion, and anger, along with entitlement, arrogance, and pride, and the belief that he was deserving to be the Dragon Warrior, Tai Lung channeled his rage into laying waste to the Valley of Peace. His fragile sense of stability and peace were shattered, and he was willing to destroy the home that had welcomed him and raised him to prove that no one could stop him. Tai Lung allowed himself to be consumed by his own ambition, which of course also led him to return to the Jade Palace in hopes of taking the Dragon Scroll by force. Shifu, feeling responsible for creating Tai Lung, tried to destroy what he had created, but was unable to face the son he loved. Only through Oogway using a nerve attack to block Tai Lung's chi was the snow leopard stopped. What I find so interesting about Tai Lung as a villain was that he was so knowledgeable on the art of Kung Fu, while at the same time he remained an extremely ruthless person. He was able to show that he was destructive and intelligent, and had a lot of humanity below the surface. While in Kung Fu Panda 2, we got a deep dive into Shen's psychology, we got to see many glimpses of Tai Lung's tortured soul throughout the original Kung Fu Panda. I think that's something that the first two Kung Fu Panda villains do extremely well. We are able to empathize with these deranged figures. Tai Lung isn't just a wild, loose cannon, he's also a tortured son, and we are able to see all of that come through. Under Oogway's instructions, Shifu ordered the construction of Chor Gam Prison to house Tai Lung, and as a true testament to how powerful Tai Lung had become, Oogway was also forced to design an acupressure restraint system made out of a tortoise's shell that was able to consistently disrupt Tai Lung's chi, and would only further tighten as he moved. After Chor Gam Prison was finished being built into a mountainside, complete with 1,000 rhino guards known as the Anvil of Heaven, massive crossbows, armed explosives, the acupuncture, chi-disrupting restraints, and chains attaching boulders to his arms, Tai Lung was trapped, and the world believed that one of the most formidable Kung Fu masters would be locked away forever. 20 years later, though, he would return after Oogway foretold that Tai Lung would venture back to the Valley of Peace. Fearing Tai Lung's return, Shifu ordered a messenger goose to double the guards and tighten security within the prison because of Oogway's vision. But by sending that goose, Tai Lung's escape became possible. With a single feather falling to Tai Lung, he used that to release himself from his restraints on his back and use the weapons that were meant to put him down to break his chains. While he had been banished for decades, his ferocity, strength, focus, and speed had not been significantly weakened. He was still a practically unstoppable warrior who was able to maneuver out of the pit he had been placed within, avoid the weapons that were used against him, take down the guards who confronted him, and inevitably was able to finally break free of his prison. The next generation of Kung Fu warriors had formed the Furious Five again, and did attempt to work together to end Tai Lung's journey at the rope bridge that led to the Valley of Peace known as the Thread of Hope. But while they fought valiantly, Tai Lung was able to overwhelm them and use his advanced techniques to take them down. His desire for the Dragon Scroll had not been stopped, especially when he was aware that Oogway had finally chosen the Dragon Warrior. Tai Lung was ready to prove himself to the world and his father, and was excited to finally have a worthy adversary. When Tai Lung arrived in the Valley of Peace, though, the village had been abandoned by the citizens with only Master Shifu remaining. While he had been excited to meet Po, he was ready to face face his former master, who he believed had wronged him all of those years ago when he did not stand up to Oogway. Channeling all of his rage and resentment, he beat down the man who had raised him and only wavered for a moment when Shifu apologized to him, but his heart had hardened too much for him to give up on his mission. This to me is the big fight for Tai Lung. He gets to take on Shifu, dominate in a duel within the Valley of Peace in a spectacular way, and shows off how formidable he had become. It's much more of the serious climactic fight, which I love to watch, but it isn't the one that Tai Lung himself longed for. That's why when the Dragon Warrior arrived, Tai Lung tossed Shifu away in hopes of securing his destiny by defeating that chosen one. But of course, it wouldn't be that easy for him to glimpse upon the legendary scroll. At every turn, Po was able to outsmart, outmaneuver, and outfight the ambitious and prideful Tai Lung, driving him mad as the panda effectively countered his attacks and sat on his face. And even after learning that there was no secret that would allow him to unlock a new power within himself, Tai Lung was unwilling to stop the battle as he just continued to underestimate Po and live in denial of the truth. Tai Lung was unwilling to accept that his true power came from within, because that would mean that he would have to embrace the idea that his violence, anger, and descent into darkness was pointless. And this forced Po to stop the committed, knowledge-seeking, and self-tortured master. After a draining fight where Tai Lung had used all of his brutal, cunning, and relentless attacks against Po, the Dragon Warrior banished Tai Lung to the spirit realm using the Wuxi Fingerhold. The Valley of Peace was safe once more. Shifu was able to see he had undone his mistakes by training Po, and Tai Lung was forced to face the truth that he was never going to be the Dragon Warrior. While there were some tales that suggested Tai Lung survived the Wuxi Fingerhold and went on to establish a criminal empire, the truth was Tai Lung's reign as a mortal warrior had concluded. But let me know down below your thoughts and theories are surrounding Tai Lung, and are there any other Kung Fu Panda episodes you'd like to see in the future? Also, make sure to subscribe and click the beautiful bell, and then click on another magical video in the description or on the screen. Finally, as always, thanks for watching and have a magical day.